I know really good singers that are sitting at home and they have no viewership on social media because you're clicking on social media is a combination of real talent but also the understanding of social media, how algorithms work, how you need to hook the audience, how you have to distribute that content, how
Yeah.
you need to network in the industry, how you find collaborations. It's a lot. When there is content that reaches out to lakhs of people or
Yeah.
millions of people, it is not possible for you to not get hate. At one point, I'm also like, you aren't famous if you're not getting hate. So
Okay.
it's a part and parcel of being on the internet.
Oh.
These algorithms, without naming any platform, but they have certain trends that happen, and if you want reach, you need to follow that trend. You need to use a particular song, and you need to do some particular dance steps, which after having learned classical music for 10 years, I don't want to be doing that to grow on social media. So when they call us creators, do we have enough creative freedom? I don't know.
Okay, cool. So today I'm speaking to Karan Chugh. He started Seventh Heaven when he was 18, along with his brother, and today they've got 250 outlets across the country. Um, so I've been pestering him for a podcast because I wanted to take some advice for business from him, and luckily I've got him to come into the studio today. So we're gonna talk business, we're gonna talk music, and content creation. And so, cool, Karan. So you started with music, I think.
Yeah.
Uh, you're a musician by trade, singer by trade,
Yes.
and you made a few Tamil songs that went viral.
They did.
You
Yeah.
went into content creation from there. So,
Yeah, I think it's been a crazy journey. Firstly, thank you for having me on your show. It's an
yeah,
absolute pleasure. And I'll tell you about how my music journey started. So, I don't come from a music family at all. And I don't know how, but like at the age of 18, again, I started my journey of Seventh Heaven, like you mentioned, but I also started my music journey at 18. And there was this uh, pull for like learning music, and I couldn't explain what that was. I remember ordering a karaoke machine online, and then I was waiting for it, like it's like the best thing ever that's going to
yeah,
come up my way. And that's how it started. But I started learning Hindustani classical music, and I've always, since a child, also I had an act for singing. I'd go for like singing competitions, win without any kind of training and stuff. But I never took it up seriously because I was
yeah,
coming from a business family. And once I started learning, I think I got into it for all the wrong reasons, which is fame and stuff like that. And once I started learning Hindustani classical, you get to know the intricacies of music,
yeah,
and you start singing, you're practicing at home alone, and suddenly it becomes an outlet for your emotions. You start seeing it for art and not what it can give you, but what it can do to you personally. So over time, having been exposed to classical music, I think it's really changed me and how I see art right now. And now I often ask myself this question that if no one was listening to me, would I still sing? And the answer is yes. So it's become really personal for me now. And how the social media journey started with music is also a story in
yeah,
itself. So at that age, I think social media was not that big. So I thought of putting out covers and mashups and stuff. But I thought this is something I'll pitch to music directors and
yeah,
hopefully become a Bollywood playback singer. Because as you know, in India, the independent music scene at that point was like dead. But so that's how I started, and then slowly and slowly I started noticing other independent artists doing great. And initially I just put like Pehla Nasha cover, this cover,
yeah,
and it was like getting 100 views, 5 likes. No one was commenting, and only your friends and family are watching because they had no choice. But and like when you make music content, I think you are a musician, so you know first you make the track,
yeah,
then you're recording vocals and mixing, mastering, then shooting the video, editing. It's a whole process. And then when you make a video, it takes like 15 days, a month, and then no one watches it. It's really demotivating. So I was thinking to myself, what can I do to really break out from the crowd? And I was like, okay, I want to cover this song called Zara Zara. It's a very famous song. And then I said, why will anyone leave Bombay Jayashree, who's an established Carnatic artist, and listen to my rendition, who's like an 18-year-old who's just started singing? So I said, I need to strongly differentiate myself. And I said, okay, I can make a male version of the song, but that's not strong enough. So I said, what else can I do? And that's when I thought of doing a Hindi and Tamil version of Zara Zara. And that was my first hit. It crossed millions of views on YouTube. And then I went on to do a lot of Hindi Tamil covers, mashups, and stuff like that. And by virtue of creating music content for so long now, I've become an influencer and I've gotten
yeah,
into showing other sides of my personality, one being podcasts, of course. So it's been quite a journey, but it's been a fun one. Yeah. Like when I started content creation, I think I thought all I have to do is just sing and put it out, and that's it, and it should work. No, I've sung well, but that's not how it is. Like I know really good singers that are sitting at home and they have no viewership on social media because you're clicking on social media is a combination of real talent but also the understanding of social media, how algorithms work, how you need to hook the audience, how you have to distribute that content, how you need to network in the industry, how you find collaborations. It's a lot. What brands to work with, what brands not to work with. So these are things that you learn over time, but you learn only if you try. So
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to just bring you in because I think I'm much younger on the business side, so I thought I would get some advice from you. But by trade, you're a singer and musician, and that's what got you into content creation by itself. I'm pretty new to the game. So when you started out, did you get trolled a lot? And were you like super conscious to put the content out? And obviously, you said some of your music covers blew up, but then eventually you transitioned to even putting out like podcasts and stuff like that. So what was the troll or the social media hate, and how do you deal with it?
So I think the first time I ever got hate was for the song "Tum Hi Ho," which was a big rage at that point, and the hate was not even that bad. Okay, it was just like the singer can just open up his mouth more and like sing with more throw. Now that's like constructive feedback, right? That's fine. At that point, for the entire day, I used to be thinking about this, like, why did this person say this about me? Why did this person say this? And I'm thinking about it all day, and then another thing is like initially it's not like immediately my covers blew up. I put out really bad content initially. Like I said, my first cover was Pehla Nasha, and obviously like if I have to hear it, I will refuse to hear it because it wasn't that good. But that's how you start. I feel like a lot of people don't start.
Yeah, that's the other thing I wanted to ask you. Is just if let's say I'm new to content creation, anybody is. I think in order to get good at something, you have to do it right.
Exactly.
And you have to be willing to be bad at it. And sometimes you also make a fool of yourself. So this is something I did want to ask you. In fact, I filmed a few videos that I didn't personally feel that I wanted to put out. I have some content actually that I've not put out. And that's just because I feel like I filmed a few more podcasts as well that I've not put out. The first podcast that I filmed, I liked the way it came out. What if someone's new to content creation, they're making content, but they just don't think it's good quality, great? Should they still put it out, or
they should? I think because now you feel like you're seeing your own content and maybe it's not up to the mark for you. But the thing is, like, firstly, like someone else may like it because what's good and what's bad is subjective, and also others might tell you other things that they see in the podcast that may not be working, and you learn from it. And also when you do put yourself out, now for example, like even if you're shooting this podcast, it is basis the podcast that you did put out. That was the reference point for me, right? Because like you see a podcast, that's when you feel like, okay, I can have a conversation with this person. So the more content you put out, now if like this video goes out, you reach out to a different audience. So the thing is that you have to be okay with the fact that your initial content may not
and
be
also
as
be
good.
willing to look like a fool. Which I'm going to make as well. So.
And the thing is, like, people will talk if you put out content, and they'll talk even if you don't put out content.
True.
So people are going to talk regardless. You've got to do what you've got to do, and you have to be okay with the fact that you won't be as good. Like my initial podcasts are also not good, and I feel like there's still a lot more for me to grow.
Also, I think you have to be comfortable with what you're putting out. Like some of the content that I've put out, I haven't put it out because it's not because I feel like it's not just that other people are not going to like it. It's that I don't necessarily like the way that's come out. I don't feel comfortable putting it out. So,
but like, is your standard 10 on 10 or is it like 7 on 10, 8 or 10?
Did you watch the first one?
Yeah, like so I think it's pretty decent.
I think it's pretty decent. Yeah, so I think my standard's pretty high. That's why I don't like putting.
Yeah, I think you can strive to be better and better with every podcast. But if it's like an 8 on 10, if it's like decent, you should still put it out. If it's like really, if you're really unhappy, then it makes sense to reshoot stuff and like that. But I think with hate, what has happened over the years, now that when there is content that reaches out to lakhs of people or millions of people, it is not possible for you to not get hate. At one point, I'm also like, you aren't famous if you're not getting hate. So it's a part and parcel of being on the internet. And sometimes I'm also like, great engagement for my post, keep commenting, or sometimes it's like good humor for me. But right now, if you ask me, does that really bother me? No. Like at that point, when I was 18 and getting that kind of hate, it played in my head all day, and it also impacted my confidence.
Yeah.
Now it's more settled in the sense that someone will also come and say that, oh, Karan, you're a better singer than Arijit Singh. And then someone will also come and say that you're a horrible singer. And the thing is, like, I don't believe both.
Yeah.
I don't take hate seriously, and I don't take the appreciation also seriously, because sometimes people love you so much that they'll give you like really crazy compliments, and then if you take that to your head, you'll stop growing.
Yeah.
So for me, self-evaluation is quite important. My guru's opinion of me is quite important, and my close trusted people. What do
Yeah.
they think of my music? Do they see me grow? I think that is what I give value to. But definitely, I'm open to constructive feedback. But hate, I think, has just stopped mattering to me. And
Yeah.
thankfully, I've not gotten a lot of hate because I do have 10 years of Hindustani classical training behind me. And that's given me the ability to sing raw, put out raw covers, put out live covers.
Yeah.
People have seen me sing live. And then after a point, they can't say anything.
Yeah.
So I think it's part and parcel of being on the internet, and I think now that you've gotten into the content creation space, I think
I'm
you will
pretty
go
new to
through
it.
this as well.
I was, as I said, I was kind of, forced to put it out.
Yeah,
But I think it was good, because otherwise I probably would have
yeah.
not taken that initial first step.
Yeah, and I think the scope that now social media has given is crazy, especially with entrepreneurship also, because if you end up building a personal brand,
Yeah.
you're developing trust.
Yeah.
For example, say a doctor. Now on social media, there's Dr. Siddhant Bhargava, who's quite famous.
Yeah.
Now, generally, when doctors start practicing in their clinics and stuff, it takes them like 10 years to build a reputation in the local area. Now, Dr. Siddhant Bhargava, because of content creation, is known as a doctor at a very young age across India. So that is the kind of reach that we've, like in my industry of like the bakery space, we have Pooja Dhingra, who's built her
Yeah.
own brand, and like Love 15 is even bigger now because of
Yeah.
what she's done on social media. So you have to create a brand where your personal brand can align with the brand that you're creating outside in the world. We also have Ankur Warikoo or this Finance with Sharan, and these are
Yeah.
creators that are writing books and they become best-selling authors. They're doing businesses outside. I think Sharan is providing financial consultancy.
Right.
They're teaching finance outside. So if you see this as a marathon and not like a sprint,
Yeah.
you have that mentality where you're only putting out content that actually matches the values that you have for your brand. I think you can go
A lot of
really
these guys aren't even
long.
that old to content. You talked about
Yeah.
Wariku. I like his content.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, he talks about a lot of books. I don't actually think he reads those books, because every month he comes up with 5 books to read.
Yeah.
And because I'm one of those people. I'll tell you about this.
yeah,
So I used to ask people, like, have you read this book and that book, and they tell you yes.
yeah.
But then I'm one of those people who actually does read
Read
books.
the book, yeah.
And I'm reading a book right now. It's on material science. It's called
Yeah.
Structures of Why Things Don't Fall Down.
Yeah.
And it takes a while to get through a book, really, if you actually
Yeah,
want to
yeah,
go deep into
the
it.
entire.
And I started asking these people that told me that they've read these books. I started asking them questions, and I really started drilling them. Turns out they've not read these books, so just don't believe these guys. So even if I come up with content, telling you guys to, top 3 books to read this, I'm bullshitting you guys. I am not being honest with you. So don't take my word for it. No one reads 5 books in a week, unless you're David Rubenstein. I know he does that, but most normal people don't read 5 books in a week. So just don't believe them.
Social media in general is never completely true, so
Yeah.
don't take it for face value.
Yeah, I'm full of shit as well. So,
We're all-
go ahead with the hate. Bring it on. So you've been making content for a while now. You're an
Yeah.
experienced content creator. What advice do you have for people like me or someone else? What are the problems that you faced with growing your audience in social media?
That's a very good question, actually, and it's quite interesting because there is a downside to social media. I owe my career to it, so I'm so thankful that social media exists, but there is also a downside to it, like everything. Firstly, I think what's content and what's not content, how do you decide that? Anything you do can be content, right? So especially when you're a vlogger, you're sharing your life and stuff like that, when do you get downtime? You're at a party or whatever, you're seeing like a great performance. Half the time we are only recording it.
Yeah.
Is this good? Is this good content? So firstly, it does interfere and it gets in the way of your personal life. Secondly is also, everyone's only seeing a certain part of my life, right? They don't know the downside of my life. So it's also playing with people's mental health in that way, where everyone's saying, oh, that person's succeeding but I'm not. But actually everyone's just going through ups and downs. And as a creator specifically, if you ask me, I think there's another issue which is to do with trends on social media. Now these algorithms, without naming any platform, but they have certain trends that happen, and if you want reach, you need to follow that trend. You need to use a particular song and you need to do some particular dance steps, which, after having learned classical music for 10 years, I don't want to be doing that to grow on social media. And so when they call us creators, do we have enough creative freedom? I don't know.
Okay.
So the ability for creators to just make what they want and put themselves out is kind of limited if you want to grow. And if you want to do what you want to do, then you have to accept that growth will be slow. So it's kind of a tricky place to be in. But I think I did try my hand at doing trends and stuff, and then it wasn't authentic to who I was. So I've chosen the path for slow growth, but authentic growth.
Cool. So I'm making content, I'm in business. What advice? I know that you started business very young. You
Yeah.
started Seventh Heaven when you were 18.
Yeah.
Today, it's primarily the main way that it runs is it's through franchises, right?
Right.
That's your main mode.
Right,
of
right, right.
Okay. So you have one store that you own outright.
Yeah.
That's in Lokanwala.
Yeah.
You guys can go check it out. They make really good desserts.
Okay.
And I'm on a diet, so I stopped eating. But
Yeah.
but you guys can check his stuff out. And if someone wants to get into business, someone like me, what advice should they go get some work experience or just start right out of college, or even while you start pretty young? So
I think for me, see, because I come from a business family, as you do actually,
Yeah.
which we can get into, but I've seen business all my life. I think even as a 10-year-old, I'm seeing business discussions happen at home.
Yeah.
So before Seventh Heaven also, we've had many other businesses. Some succeeded, some failed, but everything teaches you a lot. So for me, I think that's been the biggest education that I've had. That's how it works in family businesses. So even at the age of like 16 or something, I would be from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. selling clothes at a retail store. So that's when you actually learn how to sell stuff. You learn marketing in person. So I did internships at the UN.
Yeah.
I've done that kind of stuff as well. But I feel like the challenge that young entrepreneurs face is that no one takes them very seriously initially. Their opinions are also not given enough value. But thankfully, that wasn't the case in my family, and we were asked for opinions. And actually, the opinions that young people have are quite valuable also, because they see a world that the elders don't. So they can give you insights that possibly you won't. But it's a very similar advice that I think I gave earlier also, which is to take that first step. I think if you want to start something, you have to do it. So I think eventually you need to try so many times that failure stops scaring you. And I think that's something that happened with my podcasting journey also. I think when my best friend and I started the podcast, we sent out 100 invites.
Yeah.
We got 99 rejections.
Yeah.
But then we got one yes.
Oh,
that was
cool.
Mr. Sujay Jairaj, and we are forever grateful to him because he gave us that start. And that's all that matters. At the end of the day, I still get rejected sometimes for like podcasts, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's like if I send out 100, but I got 10 yeses, that's all that matters. I have 10 great guests on my podcast. And so that's how it is. Even at Seventh Heaven, I think this is a good lesson actually for young entrepreneurs listening. I can kind of share the Seventh Heaven success story, where initially we started, we were a good bakery. The products were good, the presentation was good, but I feel like we did not have a strong differentiation. Why would someone come to Seventh Heaven and not like any other competitor? And that's when we took that step back and we thought of what can we do differently. And that's when we came up with the idea of like live cakes.
Yeah.
So now we have kitchens in every outlet, and now we have chefs that make cakes in 7 minutes right in front of the customer.
Yeah.
So because we started that because of a problem, that became our differentiation. We started selling cakes that are fresh compared to other cake shops that are selling cakes that are 1 or 2 days old.
Yeah.
So that became our differentiation, and that's also the reason why we succeeded with our franchisees. because everyone was like, okay, there is a strong selling point for Seventh Heaven, and that's why I want a Seventh Heaven franchisee.
Yeah.
So when it comes to like franchising and stuff like that, I've seen that because I've had that background of being in a family business and also having done an MBA, I think I managed without having worked outside. But I feel like if someone's just starting out, they should not immediately
But did
start a
you,
business.
so in terms of your MBA,
Yeah,
I think right now MBA degrees are really expensive,
yeah,
right? So, if someone wants to learn business, should they go get an MBA or just start a business? Because honestly speaking, I'm I am not a big fan of conventional education.
yeah,
I think college is good for meeting people.
yeah,
I do think that once you get out of your home, you do mature a lot.
yeah,
I think that there's a lot of things that you learn in college. You mature, you learn through experiences, and
yeah,
I love the extracurriculars and stuff like that
yeah,
they have, especially if you go to a nice college.
yeah,
I do think that those leadership positions and stuff, things like
yeah,
that, those things do help you mature. But
yeah,
in terms of if it's just about the education,
yeah,
I think there's more than enough resources, especially for a self-motivated student,
yeah,
which I am.
yeah,
So
yeah,
I find those resources, and I prefer them over
yeah.
a lot of
No, I
the.
agree with you because see, like I started Seventh Heaven with my family, of course, with my elder brother and my dad, and I was 18. I hadn't done my MBA then, so it's not necessary. My brother is not an MBA either.
Yeah.
He has a degree in psychology for all that matters, and I do feel like a psychology degree really helps because at every point you're talking to people, you're interacting with people, and that's what counts the most. But I feel like it's not necessary. It's like a plus. I would say like it's an added advantage if you have an MBA because it just teaches you and it exposes you to like management of different companies, stuff like that. But you can also do that independently, like you said. So I don't think it's a compulsion. It's just like an added bonus. And I do agree that the fees is crazy and it shouldn't be
Yeah,
the
it's really
case. Yeah,
expensive.
really
Education
expensive.
is a business as well. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean,
for sure, for
I
sure.
think that's the business you guys should start.
Yeah.
Yeah, in case because I think Indian
Yeah.
parents are so like education oriented. So
I have major problems with school education in India as well. I think that I don't think I've taken away too much from it, and I've given 12 years of my life to school education. I don't know what
and
we've taken from it, what are we
usually
using.
I mean, especially if you've got rich parents,
Yeah,
especially with Indian parents, they ask you, okay, what do you need the money for?
yeah,
And if you tell them it's education,
yeah,
usually it's a big yes.
yeah,
If it's something else, it's usually a no.
yeah,
But a lot of my friends, sometimes they even go to the US and they just fuck off. That's what they do.
yeah,
And it's see, I think it's sometimes when you're 18, you don't realize the value of money.
yeah.
But now that I'm in my mid 20s and
Mm.
you start earning, you feel really bad about it because you can
Yeah,
do a lot of things with that money,
that's true.
like starting
That's
a business
true.
or whatever.
That's true, for sure.
And money gives you the ability to also make mistakes.
Yeah,
So you can start a business and fail.
yeah,
And you could start another business and fail.
yeah,
And money gives you the ability to do that. And now that you've blown it up on something that's
yeah,
useless, that makes you just feel.
yeah,
So
but
you started the business now. It's been a while.
yeah.
What advice do you have for anyone who's just starting out in business and wants
Yeah.
to go down the entrepreneurship route?
Firstly, like I said, take that leap of faith because if you want to get rich in life, I think business is one of the most tried and tested ways. If you want experience, franchising is actually a great way to learn. So instead of just starting something out, go take a franchisee, learn and take their expertise, and then you can possibly start something of your own. And also, when you're at the top of the business, when you're running a company, focus more on delegation and getting the work done instead of actually doing it. And I think something I learned in the journey of Seventh Heaven is that initially we'd try and resolve symptoms. When the problem would come, we'd deal with the symptom, but the problems would keep reoccurring. But later we realized that we need to focus on the root cause of problems, solve them instead of just solving the symptom. And I think, yeah, you just have to keep at it, and it's a journey full of ups and downs. So you have to choose something that you're really passionate about. It's actually a roller coaster ride, and it's fun if you enjoy what you're doing. So choose a path even in business. Don't do it just for the money, do it because you also love doing it. But thank you so much for having me. It's been a wonderful conversation,
Yeah,
and I wish you luck for the
don't
podcast.
give me too much hate in the comment section, and I'm hoping you guys will tell me to keep at it.
Yeah, you should, you should.
I'm hoping you guys got a lot to take away from him. But yeah, I'll see you guys in the next episode.
Thank you for watching.
Bye.